You're too old, and it's too late to start. Has anyone ever said that to you? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's too late to quit. And oh yeah, you're not too old. In fact, the good news is that it's always the right time to start. You've come to the right place. And me and my friends are going to share our stories of why we will never, ever throw in the towel. Welcome to the Too Late to Quit podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Iftikharuddin. Let's go. I'm going to start things off with a phrase. You have permission, okay? I give you complete permission, whatever it is that you want to do, whether you're a musician, whether you've always wanted to start playing the guitar, whether you've wanted to start writing a screenplay, whether you've always wanted to start singing and you have no idea and it's too late and you're too old and everybody would make fun of you and everybody is saying, oh, but you need to go on American Idol and you're too old for that. Or maybe you can go on America's Got Talent. They accept people who are, 100 years old. Wherever you are, wherever you're listening to this, you have complete permission. I give you permission. And maybe that sounds a little presumptuous and pompous, but oh well. I am giving you permission to follow whatever that little idea is inside of your head that is saying, I think I can be a musician, or I've always wanted to record an album. And maybe you have a guitar that's sitting in a case. It's in the corner of a room. The action is about as high as the Brooklyn Bridge. Maybe it's got 4 strings on it. Maybe it's completely covered in dust, but it's yours. It's your guitar. I want you to pick that guitar up, and I want you to realize that now is the perfect time to start. What is that great phrase? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and today? I fully, wholeheartedly believe that to be true. And I happen to have a lot of friends. We're all north of 40, on the wrong side of 40, as people love to say. And all of us are continuing our dream. We're all continuing to make music, to write screenplays. We're all continuing to do that thing that we love to do. And what I want to do with this podcast, my goal, is to invite all of my friends onto this podcast because I want you to hear what they have to say and the tricks that they've used to get where they are. Has it been easy? Absolutely not. But we didn't choose this because it was easy. I remember when I was first starting, the idea was so cool. Oh, I'm 20. I felt old back then, which it sounds completely ridiculous, but that's how I felt then. And I said, there's nothing that will be cooler than not having any money and living on spaghetti, not knowing if I'm going to be able to pay the rent, and having my guitar and my dream and chasing that dream. And then very soon I'll be on a private jet and I'll have a huge record advance and I'll be playing concerts all over the world. That was this dream that I had when I was 20. Now, that has not come true as of yet. I've been on some small planes, but none of them have been private jets. But I still, every single day, I am thinking about music. For me, it's music, it's songwriting. That's my thing. That's my magic place. That's where I am when I'm in that creative mode. I'm either sitting down at the piano or I'm sitting with my guitar or guitars, because when you're north of 40, you tend to start collecting guitars if you're a guitarist. And for me, that's always been where I like to write. I got my first guitar when I was 17, almost 18 for Christmas. And my entire life changed from when I got that guitar. It was like somebody had opened up a portal to this other realm, this world where magic could happen, where I could literally, with just a few chords, 4 chords and the truth, I could change my life. At the time, it was the idea of, if I can have a hit song. And I was sure I could write it. I was positive that I had what it took. And I thought that I was starting way too late. I said, I'm a senior in high school. I'm starting to play guitar now. I'm almost 20. I'm almost an old man. I knew people that had started playing their instrument when they were 5. And I thought, this is absolutely too late. But it was almost as if I had no choice. It was almost like someone gave me a taste into what this other world could be. And it was something that completely lit up every single electron in my brain, opened up every path for dopamine on those 6 strings of that 1992 Washburn, I think it was a D10. I still have that guitar, and it still sounds amazing. So if you're hearing my voice, if somehow you stumbled upon this podcast or somebody sent it to you, it's because they think that you have what it takes. They think that you have something to say, and they want to hear how you say it. And if you're 40, if you're 50, if you're 60, if you're 70, if you're 80, if you're 90, it's always the right time to start this. And over the course of these episodes, of these podcasts, you're going to hear all the ups and downs, all the crazy things that have happened to all of us, and not a single one of us has stopped. There have been times when we've paused. I remember I just had moved to LA, and I was so tired of trying to make it that it was the first time that I lost the calluses on my finger. And for those of you who are guitar players, you know how hard it is to get those calluses. Now, I'm not talking Stevie Ray Vaughan level where you have to glue them back on, but where you've got this pad built up. And you're so proud of that because it signifies all of the hours that you've put in on those steel strings. When I lost those calluses, I realized how much I missed them because it made it so much easier to play the guitar. I even gave my live gigging guitar, my Godin A6, that I got after I saw Martin Sexton play one in New York. And I lent it to somebody. And I think back to that now, and it feels crazy to me. How could I do that? But I was so over it. And I learned that it didn't always have to be like that Bryan Adams song, Summer of '69. You don't always have to play until your fingers bleed. You can take a break. It's okay. Do you have a day job? I do. All my friends do. And I can tell you that while we're on our coffee break, or a Zoom break that we are plotting and we are planning, and we are always thinking about the next song or the song that we're currently working on. And for you, maybe that's a screenplay. For me, it's music. There is nothing that makes me happier during my workday than thinking about what I'm going to do as soon as my workday finishes and the song puzzle that I'm going to go back to. Because the way I look at it, it's like one of those crazy 3D puzzles. Have you ever seen those puzzles? See pictures on Reddit or Instagram where they're three-dimensional and they're completely skewed and very difficult to put together. And they come in like 15 different numbered bags. Each bag has 1,000 pieces. I look at the song that comes to me. I'll be sitting on the couch. This happened just the other day. I was sitting on the couch and I was reading about these city lights that were captured by the James Webb Telescope. This happened about a year ago. And the idea that something 4 light years away could possibly have somebody recording a podcast, playing a guitar, or whatever instruments they use to make music, because I have to believe they have music. Whatever they're doing, would we ever get to meet and jam? And I was sitting on my couch, dumbstruck with this idea, when a melody came knocking on my door. This doesn't always happen, but when it does, I've learned that I always have to answer that door. If I ever say, oh, you know what? I'll remember it tomorrow. I never remember it tomorrow. And sure, there's some musicians that will say, well, if the melody's good enough, then it'll keep coming back. That's great if that works for you. That's not how it always happens with me. Sometimes, sure, there'll be a melody that's super, super strong, but I get very paranoid and I have to capture it in that exact moment. So no matter how tired I am, I will always get up, open up my voice notes, come into my studio, and either grab a guitar or sing it into my phone. So I got up like a robot. Maybe I was being puppeteered by one of the inhabitants of this planet. I can't think of the name of it. It's like Perspective, Spectrum B, something like that. And I walked straight into the studio, had the melody in my head, had the first line, and I sat down and I started working out on the piano. I remember Rob Thomas said once, it's very, very easy to start a song. Very simple. To finish it, very hard. And I agree. You have to put in the work. You have to sit down. You have to open up every single bag of puzzle pieces and assemble it. And you know what I've learned over the years is that I am very good at recognizing when I'm falling into my lazy songwriting habits. Now, this all might be a bit mishmash and crazy for the first episode of this podcast, but you know what? This is how we roll on the Too Late to Quit podcast, okay? So I know there are some people out there, I'm convinced that a song will come out, bing, bang, boom, in a matter of minutes, and it will be lyrically perfect, harmonically will sound amazing, beautiful rhymes, imagery. That's not always what happens to me. Sometimes it does. But in the case of this song, I get a feeling where I feel that those puzzle pieces are coming out of the bag in a good flow. Like I cut a big hole with the scissors and they're all coming out at once. Not like, blink, 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 piece by piece by piece. And I can tell when I'm in that flow, and I must always respect it. So I sat down and this melody came out. I play and I sing differently when I'm on the piano as opposed to when I'm on the guitar. Having the two hands play chords in different octaves always helps me. And I sat down there and it feels like I'm sitting with my left hand on an old FM radio and I'm moving that dial and I'm hearing bits of static come in, and every few couple of seconds a song comes through really clear. I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. And then it's gone. So what I find, and this to me, someone who's very impatient in these moments, is I literally have to sit there like a code breaker, sometimes day after day after day, and run that FM radio dial until the song comes out or reveals itself to me. And in this process, when I'm doing that, what I've noticed over the past 4 or 5 years is that my habits, what I call my lazy couch potato habits as a songwriter, make themselves present very quickly. There are certain phrases I love to say, certain melodies I love to reuse, certain paths. And if a verse isn't working the way I feel it should, I'm very, very good at fudging my words and extending vowels and consonants so that it fits. I've gotten to the point now where I can catch myself and say, you're using that old couch potato habit. And so I stop, and then I have to really get down to the marrow of what the song is actually about. What am I really trying to say? And that, my friends, is where the work begins. Because sure, could I write a song very quickly? That's how I used to write. Because all of the musical heroes that I listened to, I figured they wrote what came out in a stream of consciousness. It seemed to be what they would always say on the interviews. Yeah, man, I just sat down and the song just came to me in like 10 minutes. I think the story that Mariah Carey wrote, All I Want for Christmas, in 10 minutes. So I would think that I had to do the same thing. That whatever comes out, it's pristine as it is, until I learned that Joni Mitchell would fill page after page after page of those yellow notepads, reworking lyrics. And at the time I was 22, 23, I remember reading about that and thinking, but why would you do that? And at the time I didn't even have a full understanding of what kind of an artist she was. And the truth is, is that I didn't start to do that until I was in my 40s. I had a couple good songs that came out, a stream of consciousness. They were very long songs, and I would work at them, and I would play around with the lyrics, but I loved the idea of keeping it just as it was. And that was how I wrote then. I write very differently now. And I always get this really cool feeling in my brain. The way that I could best describe it is, say it's a really hot summer day and you're walking outside and you go into a convenience store that's just got beautiful air conditioning. and it washes over you and you feel completely relaxed and have that moment where you can just go, that's the feeling I get. It's a feeling I got just the other night when you're in this zone. I firmly believe that this applies to whatever your creative endeavor is, whether it be painting, writing, singing, playing, that you will get a feeling where your nerves are just lit. Everything is just, I think what it is I'm completely present. And I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time in the past and in the imaginary future. So the times when I'm fully present, I find I breathe differently, and I feel that opens up the channels almost like it takes a hose that's been clamped and allows the flow to happen. And so I get all these ideas and I get all these melodies, and then I feel, okay, I'm on the right highway. This is going to be a longer one. This is a longer stretch than I thought. I'm not just driving to the 7-Eleven. Marker said the next Buc-ee's is 45 miles away. Okay, it's going to be a minute. What I've realized is that when I stop and just let the process take as long as the process takes, then it's okay. Because what I was always doing in the past was putting this imaginary timeline that it has to happen by XYZ. For me now, it's before the big 50. I remember being terrified before I turned 30. And now here we are, almost 20 years later. And I don't feel afraid. I feel excited, but I'm using that as a goal. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, because I want to start doing these kinds of things. And you know what? If that's my motivator, that works for me, then that's what works for me. So let me sum up. This is the Too Late to Quit podcast. You are amongst friends. You are amongst people who are the crazy people. The ones who, despite all things of sanity, of what you're supposed to do. Can you feel those air quotes? Can you feel them? I think you can. We get it. And this is a place where you can come to hear what this path has been like for us. So stick around. This is going to get real interesting.